Welcome back to Under Oath. We have 3 great segments coming today.
We do.
We're discussing the law and Legally Screwed. Then we go to 2 attorneys arguing. And then I get to interview Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall, Sky High, News Radio, and his new series concerning UFOs.
Woo, I'm going to clap for that. Dave Foley, come on, man.
Yeah, Dave Foley's a rock star.
Come on, man. Yes.
All right, we do our segment called Legally Screwed.
We do.
Where we try to break the law down in easy ways for people.
Yes.
Where you hit me with something, and then I try to break it down and cover almost every error we can.
Yes.
Now, realize this. Certain things are going to be wrong because every state is different.
Yes, it is.
So you might come from a state where you go, well, Jeff, that doesn't apply to my state. And you know what? You're going to be right.
Gotcha.
Now, we can't be perfect, but we can give you the basics.
Give you a little information. Now, we're in Florida, so it's the wild, wild west.
Now, I'm everywhere.
Yes.
I'm everywhere. So
18.
I can be Tennessee, Texas,
Yes, 18
Massachusetts,
states.
Washington, New York. I mean, just, it's a lot.
And soon to be practicing law, the first one in Wakanda. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if I can get through the shield.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can. There you go.
A little geeky. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
All right,
man.
hit me with the first one.
I got a great question this time. Okay. I went to urgent care while 8 weeks pregnant and experiencing shortness of breath. Now, the provider told me they couldn't treat me and recommended I go to the hospital. No examination or treatment was performed. Weeks later, I received a $300 bill stating a full assessment was done, which is false. The clinic manager won't address it and insurance won't intervene. What do I do?
All right. First, I'm going to touch on something that you don't pay attention to first. Urgent care is very important
Okay.
because it's almost impossible to get into a hospital sometimes.
Yes.
The emergency rooms, I cut my finger
Okay.
on one of those mandolins. Ooh. People, is mandolin a generic term now?
I think so.
So I'm not offending any other company?
I don't think you are.
Okay, don't use these things.
Wait a minute.
Don't use these
Why?
things. They're dangerous. Everyone I know has cut themselves. Now, they have the good ones where they top load them
Yes.
and you push down.
Yes.
These mandolins are tough. You can get, and they tell you, and you use that scraper
Yes.
and everything else. And I cut off a huge part of my finger.
Ooh.
And it sucked.
Yeah, it does.
And I went to the emergency room because the urgent care wasn't open because it was late at night. 6 hours
yeah.
in the emergency room, just sitting there holding my finger.
That tracks.
So don't do that. And also don't do that because emergency rooms are expensive.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Try to stay away from those. $3,000.
Woo.
$3,000. And you know what they did?
Woo.
Wrap my finger.
You could have did that at home.
They wrapped my finger.
You know what? Next time you cut yourself, call me. $300.
Okay.
Got
Yeah. All right. Now, there are a couple issues involved in this case. They went there. They charged you $300.
Yeah.
They wrote down full assessment, but they gave you an assessment.
That's the assessment? That's the full assessment.
The assessment, go to an expert.
So they basically said, take your ass down the street. And that's my assessment.
You and I have joked around on this before about the status of healthcare in our country
We have.
and how bad it is.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people go, Jeff, you should appreciate it. I appreciate it, but the only problem is our medical system has changed in like the last 10 to 20 years, where you have to go to multiple doctors to get help.
Yes.
And then you have to get evaluated by one because your insurance says you can't go see the foot doctor until you see your
primary care physician.
Your primary. You're like, hey, my foot hurts. Maybe my primary can help. The primary says what did they say to you?
Go to see a specialist.
Go to see a specialist.
That's
every
correct.
time.
Every time.
Because you know what they're hoping for? What happened in this case?
Somebody else.
Woman didn't do anything.
Yeah. Somebody else.
She went one place and it said, go somewhere else.
That's right.
And she gave up. I mean, could you imagine that?
We live it.
She gave up.
Yes.
And that's an expectation now. Now, there are people in the medical field or the insurance companies who are going to say to me, Jeff, that is BS. Hey.
No, it's not.
I have seen it too many times.
Yes.
You know.
Absolutely.
You know when I believe in UFO? When I see it.
There it is.
Okay. You can tell me what you want to tell me. You can give me your opinion.
Yes.
But if I see it happen, I'm going, well, this happens. And they're going, well, that's an exception. Well, how many times do you have to see an exception before it becomes standard?
That's correct. I'm with you on that one.
So what happened is this. You get a bill for $300. You didn't like how they titled it.
No.
That was what she didn't like it because they titled it total assessment. What if it just said assessment?
She would probably feel a little bit better about it. Still be upset.
Yeah, you tried to send me somewhere else.
Yeah. Because full assessment sounds like you gave me tests.
Yes.
You checked everything about me to make sure that I was okay.
They didn't. Is $300 a ridiculous amount to meet with a doctor?
Yes.
Well, I'm not to meet with a doctor.
Just to meet him and say, hey, my name
doctor listens to you. He goes, he goes, listen, I think you need to go see a specialist.
That's a lot of money for $300 for you to tell me that.
Okay. How much does a doctor make a year?
It depends.
Okay, what do you think a doctor should make it? 200,000?
No, about 300,000.
You think they should make $300,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, work this out with me real quick. How many days in the year are there?
365.
Okay. Divide that into 300,000. Comes out to about $900, $800, $900 a day.
Got it.
Okay, that's what it costs to pay that doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's say that doctor met with her for a half hour.
Yes.
Okay, so at a minimum, his fee alone should be around, what, $200? $100, $200? Then the facility, you have to pay rent. You got to pay nurses.
They have
You got all
overhead.
this. So now when we start talking about the money that goes into this,
Got it.
you're going, oh, geez. And how many doctors are working at that time?
Probably just him.
Yeah, maybe.
Just him.
So, and then they got to pay medical malpractice insurance on top of that.
Yes.
And medical malpractice insurance is a ridiculous amount of money.
Mhm.
And that hospital, that little place has their own. So they need a policy for him and the whole building itself.
Yeah.
So when we start talking about that, they build you $300, knowing the total cost to run one of these things.
Yeah.
Is it that ridiculous now?
No, not ridiculous, but my expectation as a consumer, because that's what I am
Well,
when I
your
go to the patient.
expectation?
Yeah. Versus what I paid. I mean, if I go in there and you tell me, nah, I can't do anything for you, but all you did was just listen and I don't think it's 30 minutes. He spent 5 minutes with this lady.
How
probably.
long? She was probably in there an hour.
She
the person
waited
took
an
their
hour.
numbers. They ran the things. They brought her into a back room.
And
she took up a
waited.
spot.
Yeah.
All this other things. Now, how much does it take for a mechanic to just look at your car?
Well, here's what normally,
Without doing anything.
Well, here's what normally happens. What happens is I'll take my broken car to a mechanic. He'll assess it. He'll tell me what's wrong. Then he'll fix it. So
No, they don't fix it. They give you the amount and they say, hey,
That's what I mean,
will you
though.
pay for it? But they charge you an amount just to.
But you don't notice because it's absorbed into the actual
You got
cost
it.
of the whole thing. Yeah.
Now, how much should a mechanic make a year?
I'm not
300,000?
I'm not going to say 300,000. No.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that.
So we take things personally because it upset her feelings. And I'm there for you.
yeah.
Knowing what you know, common sense wise.
Yes.
Would you say anything different now? You go, listen, you need to go to your OBGYN.
Yeah.
If you are pregnant and you have an issue, you call your OBGYN.
Absolutely.
Now I can make a promise to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
What I think happened was this. I think she didn't have an OBGYN.
I actually think something different, but go ahead. I want to hear yours
Okay.
first.
The reason why is this is that the minute you start suffering, you think the baby's life is on the line.
Yeah.
You're calling your doctor. You're not going to go to a BS clinic.
And I agree with you 100%.
But how pregnant was she?
8 weeks.
Maybe she doesn't have one.
Here's what I think happened. I think she may have one, but every time I've ever gone to urgent care, you know when I go? When
Emergency.
my normal doctor's not open after business
Okay.
hours. So I'm thinking this happened maybe late at night or maybe after the doctor's office was closed and she had nowhere to go. So she went to urgent care thinking it's called urgent care. So they're going to take care of me there, and then learned otherwise and then got a bill. And that whole experience left her feeling a little bit, neglected and taken advantage of. But when you back into it the way you did about how doctors get this certain amount per year and
Right.
then the cost associated with being in the medical field,
Right.
it makes sense.
It's reasonable.
But then you think, wow,
You don't like it,
You
but
don't
it's
like
reasonable.
it. Yeah, it's reasonable.
As an attorney,
Mhm.
it's about 7 years.
To
And
become
then,
one,
and then you have to take the exams and everything else, add
Yeah.
another 6 months to that. So about 7.5 years. By the time anybody ever allows you to do anything with a client, it'll probably be 8 or 9
that's a
before
lot,
you actually get to touch an actual client.
that's a lot of schooling.
Yeah, it's a lot of schooling. It's a lot of, you're working under an attorney for a little bit, unless you go work for the state attorney's office. Now, a doctor, how many years do you think it takes for a doctor?
It has to be about 10. It has to
Yeah,
be 10.
yeah, you're right. 4 years, 4 years, 2 years in 3 years in residency.
And you accumulate a lot of
Yeah.
debt while you're in school.
Stupid money. So
Yeah.
11 years so I can practice. Now, is $300 a lot to see a doctor, even if that doctor couldn't do something for you? No. It's very reasonable.
Not when you break it down that way, honestly.
Now, most likely on these forms, they do tell you. But I've gone sick where I thought I had COVID.
Yeah.
And they gave me a COVID shot. They gave me COVID test where I showed negative. And then they gave me like a vitamin shot.
Gotcha.
$350.
Whew.
Now, the finger wrap at the emergency room,
Yeah.
$3,000.
For them to wrap your
Wrap my finger.
Bro, that's crazy.
Didn't figure it, didn't stitch it.
No.
They said they can't stitch it, just wrap it. $3,000.
Now, even though we know what we know about doctors and how long it takes to be one, that seems a little bit much, right?
Emergency room costs, everything else,
Yeah.
they start adding up. So I'm going to tell you, you didn't like it, and I'm sorry. Here's the reality. When you go into an urgent care, you don't know what they're going to charge you.
No.
There's no set figure amount, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, they give you a bill.
Yeah.
Now, you can try arguing the bill if you want to. Most of the time, your insurance company will not cover it because it's urgent care and
That's
it's
right.
outside of your insurance policy.
That's correct.
So I do support urgent cares, and I think they do fantastic work. But you are going in there without knowing what that final bill is going to be, and most likely it will not be covered by your health insurance.
So here's what I learned today. Pregnant women, don't get pregnant.
Is that what you learned?
Yeah.
Says the person with 3 kids.
4.
4. Oh, my God. See, so many I forgot. I mean, I got 2. Oh,
I know you do.
That's a big check.
Yeah.
Big checks.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Jacob. You know that.
But my daughter's killing it. So I'm
She
happy
is.
about that.
Go Gators.
Yeah, stop it. James, that was fun.
Thank you.
We're going to start our next segment. Craig and I are going to argue the law. Craig Lind, attorney licensed for over 25 years. And after that, my Dave Foley interview.
Come on.
God,
Dave Foley.
Dave Foley. I love it.
Gotcha.
Love him.
By the way, when are you going to get rid of Craig and hire me?
Well, it's 7 years practice law. This is a fan favorite section, Craig. This is my partner, Craig Lind. Fan favorite.
I'm the fan favorite.
You're a fan favorite.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know whether it's because of the shirts or whatever, but everyone likes that hoedown look, I guess.
Well, they like authentic. That's what they like.
So this is authentic?
Yes.
It's authentic South Dakota
Yeah,
or
this
Orlando,
authentic,
Florida?
That's authentic me. I'm from South Dakota, but I grew up here too, so it's kind of a solid mix.
There's a lot of weird things we deal with. I get to interview Dave Foley. And Dave Foley was on everything. He's done, SCC TV, Sky High. He's done a bunch of stuff. Now, what cuts me up the most is he does a lot of alien stuff now, like with the UFOs. And Trump just says we're releasing all the UFO stuff. All of it.
We're releasing everything.
It's going to be big. It's going to be great.
We're releasing everything.
We're releasing all the UFO stuff. I don't know if I want to know all of it.
Oh, I do.
What if?
Oh, I definitely do.
What if one of us, like let's say, they always say a lot of celebrities or athletes could be aliens like Dennis Rodman.
Uh-huh.
I mean, do you think that all of it we should know?
Yes.
Why?
The truth?
No, the truth is not always great.
Oh, you got to know it. You got to know it. You have to adhere to the
What
principle.
legal right do I have?
To the truth?
Yes.
You have a God-given right to the truth.
What about secret stuff?
You have a God-given right.
What if I created
to
a
the
weapon
truth.
based on some of this alien stuff? Is that government protected?
Well, you talking about like having a copyright on the technology?
No, I'm not talking copyright. I'm talking about secret stuff. This is considered secret.
The
Top
alien
secret.
technology?
Top secret, yes. I mean, what if Velcro? They say Velcro came from the aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, what if I'm the government? I say, I'm not releasing it because it's top secret. Come on. We can't let this out. The Russians will copy us.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you're getting at because the government can pretty much call anything top secret that they want to.
Well, you
They
always
just designate it top secret and all of a sudden no one can talk about it.
I thought a judge has to make like a FISA judge or something else has to declare it.
No, a FISA judge is when you want to subpoena people who you can't name because of their sensitive work. If their name comes out that they work for the government, then that could jeopardize their
Like Diddy?
life. And you like Diddy? Yes, like Diddy, but in a foreign country.
Okay.
So the FISA court is supposed to be able to administer those kinds of things when those types of people are involved.
Let's do this. Pull something
Or go
out of the
yourself.
jar of death of legal questions that we get. And if you want to send something in to us, we get questions all the time. If you want to send us your question, send it to jeff@whenyouneedus.com.
A father sued his ex-wife after a DNA test revealed that the child he raised for 10 years wasn't biologically his. He's demanding reimbursement for all the money spent over the years in emotional damages. His ex argues that they were both seeing other people when they got pregnant. When they got pregnant, that's
I am never that bold.
when
I am
they got
never
pregnant
that
and
bold.
they had both assumed it was his. Should he have the right to financial compensation? If so, how?
Like if I have a colonoscopy, I don't say we had a colonoscopy. I say I had one.
When we got pregnant.
I am a feminist.
All right, so he's
I
having
admit it.
unprotected sex with an ex-wife? And you would expect
Well, it's
that.
going to be the ex-wife.
Yeah. Well, it is the ex-wife now.
Could you imagine that?
So your
Imagine the
wife
look on your
gets
face.
pregnant,
Yeah.
and they
My
both
baby, I'm
know
happy.
that they're
I'm
seeing other
happy.
people. If you both know that the other one is seeing
See,
other people,
this is a scam.
why don't you at that moment go, wait a minute, is that child mine?
That's her argument.
Yeah.
Her argument is that they both knew.
Oh, well, he's like, I never knew.
Hold on.
I didn't know that.
I named this kid after me.
Yeah. So, okay. So the question is, does he have a right to financial compensation as against the mom?
He's going to sue under fraud.
Yeah.
Now, you gave it out of the goodness of your heart.
Yes.
Even when there's fraud in a situation where she knows it's not your baby.
Yeah.
And you took care of them.
Well, that's emotionally damaging to him. That is.
I agree.
Okay.
I'm emotionally damaged just hearing it.
To think that a kid is your flesh and blood for 10 years only to find out that your wife lied to you and has been maintaining this lie
This is not your baby.
for a decade.
Ooh, that's some vicious stuff.
That's
vicious.
That's cruel. That's cruel because not only did you keep the actual father from maybe having a relationship, now you've made this guy who's obviously, I mean, he would have had to have fallen in love with this kid. He would have had to have these incredible feelings for the kid that he thought was his, even though it turns out not to be. I mean, you're still his dad or her dad, whatever. I don't know if it's a boy or girl, but the guy suing, he's got to feel like this is my kid. I raised
You feel like crap.
this kid.
Less than crap. Devastated. You've lost a piece of yourself because
a
we
piece of your
consider that a
soul.
piece of us.
Yeah.
A child, my child.
This was my
that's
legacy.
mine.
This was my legacy.
I'm not worried about legacy. I'm talking this is you. I'm now responsible for you for the rest of my life. I don't care how old you get. I'm going to feel responsible. Well, let's tackle this from a legal standpoint. There are situations that are very clear that if I'm put on a birth certificate and I pay child support for many years and I find out later that I am not the father, courts have found, hey, you accepted that responsibility. You paid. We want to hold you responsible because until we can find somebody else who's responsible,
somebody needs to be
it's you.
responsible.
So courts have found, even in situations,
Yeah, the default rule is if you're married to her at the time of the birth, we assume it's yours. And if you don't let the whole world know that you don't think it's yours, you're going to be held to the standard as though it is, whether or not legally, whether or not biologically that's true.
and even in certain states, even once they find out it's not yours, you still have to pay.
Yeah, because now in a way, you've prevented the rest of society from trying to figure out who actually is the father of this child.
Now, does that set up precedent? For those who don't know, precedent means that case law exists and judges are going to follow some other judge's rulings. Does that set precedent for this situation where, oh, well, you're going to have to pay child support, but you can maybe sue for fraud?
Yeah, if from a legal perspective, if you are given an obligation that you would have had an opportunity to avoid, but you were defrauded from avoiding that obligation, you undertook that obligation under false pretenses, you can't tell me that that's not actionable. But who is it actionable against? The ex? What kind of money do you think she has available to pay a lawsuit?
Blood from a stone.
Like he's just trying to make noise here. He's just trying to make noise. Unless the ex-wife is some famous actress, who has who's independently wealthy, or
And
a
then she didn't need your
Rothschild,
money anyway.
or a Heinz daughter, or something like
Ooh,
that.
I like the Heinz daughter.
Yeah.
Could you imagine marrying that? Who do you? She owns ketchup. That's so awesome. You own a condiment. That's how rich you are. I control
they should have
mustard.
owned a condom back then. That might have helped him out. It wasn't that funny.
You know that would cause.
I knew you would think that's funny, but
you
it's
know why I
actually
find
not
it
that
funny? Because if I would say something like that in a courtroom and I get hung.
Yes, yeah, you would.
You know I would.
He definitely would, folks.
Oh.
I've seen him do it.
But hold on. One thing that didn't bring up is the statute of limitations on fraud. It could be 2 years, it could be 5 years, depending on the state you're in. 4 years. In a situation where I've been taking care of this kid, he's 18 now. Or she's 18.
The good thing about most states and fraud is that the statute of 2 or 4, or however long the statute of limitations is, usually it doesn't begin until you know that you've been defrauded, or you should have known that you had been defrauded. So if the kid came out, and you have really dark hair, and the kid comes out just blonde, redheaded, nobody in your family's you
Lot
might be
smarter
able to
than
make
you.
an
Lot
argument.
smarter
A lot
than you.
smarter than you, taller, more athletic. You might be able to say, listen, you should have known a long time ago that there was something going on.
That'd be like your kid shows up and he wants to button his shirts all the way to the top.
Yeah,
You know, that's not
that
you.
can't be my kid.
That's not
Why
your
would
kid.
he do that?
Okay, so the answer is this. You probably could sue under a fraud statute, but that
And
might,
avoid the statute of limitations argument most of the time.
Maybe. I think you might be shut out after a certain period of time.
What do we tell the guy if he shows up here? This guy shows up in our office. Hey, Jeff, I need to sue my ex. What do we tell him?
I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to do what some other attorneys might do. Yes,
I need a $5,000 retainer and we'll get started right away. And, I'm going to go get
I'll
justice
charge
for
the hourly
you.
rate. I'm going to do this.
And then we'll get it back at the end.
Always contact on a situation like this where you're going to be paying an hourly fee. Get 2 opinions. Go to 2 attorneys. Because what I would tell him directly, I'd say, listen, we can go after him and I know you're angry. I don't know if we're going to prevail and I know we're probably not going to be able to collect for you. So you're going to, for $5,000, $10,000 or 20, 30 to go to trial, you're not going to get a benefit out of it. And for the first month, you're going to be happy. And I want everyone to hear this real quick because this is very important. People say, I want to sue for the principal. Well, the principal is really great for the first 2 months. Then when you get to 3rd month, the 4th month, the 5th month, you're into a year. You're going, this is dumb. Why am I even here?
And then some people feel trapped, Jeff, because they're like, man, I already am $12,000, $15,000 into this thing. I got to see it through or otherwise that money's wasted, right? What
I'm going to give you some advice.
That's called the sunk cost.
Take that $5,000 retainer.
fallacy.
Take that $5,000 retainer and go get yourself a decent watch.
A watch?
A watch. Just a watch. So it's something that you'll have for the rest of your life and you go, I could have wasted money on an attorney or I can look at this nice watch.
Instead, I have a nice tag.
Yeah.
Right.
Not a tag. You can't get a Rolex or something. But I mean.
For $5,000, you can get a Rolex?
No, you can't.
Oh.
No. You can maybe get a crappy used one. But I mean, I would say for just a subpar brand new Rolex, I mean, subpar, I mean like maybe 11, 12. But that'd be better than giving it to an attorney who might get you a judgment that you can't collect on.
Yeah, you can hang it on your wall and it'll look nice. And
you'll feel like an idiot every time you pass
yeah,
that.
it won't bring a lot of good memories.
Okay. So our opinion on this matter is walk away, get divorced. If you love that child, don't stop loving the child.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Don't abandon the kid.
Don't put it on the kid.
Now. That's not the kid's fault. And you can't tell me that you raised that kid for 10 years and you don't have feelings for him.
And I'm going to tell you what right now. Lie to the kid. Don't tell him.
No.
Don't tell him.
No.
You can't go, hey, your mom just told me that that you're not mine.
That's bad advice. Not telling the truth.
I'm going to go with the don't tell.
Not telling the truth is always bad advice.
Why? This kid's going to be devastated.
He needs to know the truth.
You're not my dad?
He needs to know the truth.
You're not my dad?
Why would you keep that from him?
Because why would I want to intentionally hurt him?
Because you're hurting him by not telling him the truth.
What, he's going to do a 23andMe later or something?
Yeah, he's going to get 40. He's going to be 40 and like,
yeah,
I can't believe you didn't tell me.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't believe you didn't tell me.
Talk to your mom. I thought we were good.
So you would lie to him and then lie about, well, I didn't really even know. Oh, my God.
Yes.
You see why it's not good to lie?
The greater good.
Because then you have to lie.
The greater good.
That's Machiavellian.
Well, look at you with the big words.
Okay, the ends justify the means is what that is,
yes.
And it is not true.
Yes.
That is a horrible philosophy.
In a personal matter. Oh, yeah?
Horrible philosophy.
Yeah, you've been married how long?
Horrible philosophy.
You've been married how long?
The ends justify the means.
You've been married?
What does that have to do with how long I've been married?
We know we say some things.
What are you talking about?
Are you happy right now? Yeah, I'm happy. You know, there are many times where you ain't happy that day and you lie because you don't want to turn on you.
No, not me.
Yeah.
Not me. No,
Really?
I announce when I'm not. Everybody knows when I'm not
Let
happy.
me say for the record, my loving wife.
No, everybody around knows when I'm not happy. That is, I don't lie about being happy.
I always allow people to save face.
Saving face for somebody else, you give somebody else an opportunity to lie
Is this
so
food
they won't
good?
be embarrassed.
Is this food good? This is great food, isn't it?
That's not. It's
You
really
told
not.
me to lie to you.
When did I tell you to lie to me?
Every time I turn you down for one of your events.
I said it would be more helpful if you put in the effort to at least make up an excuse rather than just blurting out no
lying.
before I even complete the invitation. Hey, do you want to come?
Nope.
Yeah, you can't say nope before I get the invitation out.
So what do I have to say now? I have to do these huge monologues.
Yes.
Dearest
Thank you,
Craig.
Thank you
That
for
was a
inviting me.
ridiculously kind
Yes.
offer.
Yes.
Based on my possibility
Correct.
of inavailability for that day,
Yes.
I can't do it.
Yes.
That feels like word salad. It just
Yeah,
does.
well, it's different. From a moral standpoint, it's different.
Well, I got Dave Foley on in a second, and I'll talk to him about the UFOs and see how he feels. Today, we've got actor Dave Foley and award-winning filmmaker Dean Aliotto. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, now I got to tell you, when this came across my desk yesterday and I saw it promoting the alien perspective, an eye-open documentary, and I was like going, I love aliens, especially since our government don't call them aliens anymore. We call it, what's it called right now? Unidentified
Non-human.
aerial phenomenon.
Yes, yeah. Or actually, now they've modified that to unidentified anomalous phenomena, because these things they've been seen going in and out of the water and coming in from space. So
yeah, we will buy anything. I think think the government tells us, oh no, we don't have UFOs. We have this new thing.
Yeah,
but a rose by any other name is still a rose.
Yeah, we got to remember that the UFO was a term invented by the military back in the early 50s. Because they didn't want to have to say flying saucer. So they came up with UFO to make it seem more serious. And now they've switched to a UAP for exactly the same reason, just to try and take away some of the stigma.
I love how accepted we are now. Now we just go, Congress is having hearings. It's not a big deal. Millions of dollars spent on hearings, and we're good with it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you got. It's the only thing that the Republicans and the Democrats agree on is that the UFO issue is serious and that we got to figure it out. And it's the only thing where we're getting unanimous bipartisan legislation is being written about UFOs and nothing else.
It's amazing how we just kind of sneak this one in, and we're going, like everything's wasn't the way it used to be. But why don't you tell me about the documentary a little bit?
The documentary is a 7 years in the making journey, 66 interviews over 4 countries. It started out being just a science documentary that was going to be looking at this subject for the first time in a kind of a premium higher level production, but also looking at it from any possibility and not saying that we're going to ascribe to one theory. So we start at NASA, and then we end up at Oxford looking at all the different possible theories and modalities. And, where once it was only one flavor of ice cream, now it's Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors. I mean, are they from the future, another dimension? Are they, did they create us? So we look at all of these possible theories and tie them in, and we have people who are talking about this who are experts in fields that are relatable, like Michael Masters, Dr. Michael Masters out of Montana Tech, who believes that we're evolving to look like these things. That's fascinating. So we spend time in that, and then in order to kind of convey this and to be able to have it be something that people can visualize, because like this Tic Tac footage of the Navy event that happened, incident, it's kind of hard to conceptualize from black and white FLIR footage of this object moving back and forth. So we brought in a world-class animator to come in and actually animate that. So you're in the cockpit as he's seeing this craft, et cetera. So it's been this thing that's been dragging me along more than I've been leading the charge. It's just fascinating and continues going on and on.
Now, what I love about this is, since you've been doing this for 7 years, so in the middle of this documentary, you're doing this stuff. Some of your friends are going, do you believe? Do you not believe? And then you get notified that Congress is having hearings. How that must just blown your mind going, wow, this is actually happening.
Well, I went to my high school reunion, and I had some people come up to me and go, so you're into UFOs, huh? Which is always a funny way to phrase that. And then they want to know. They say, okay, so what do you really know? So it's no longer, you really believe in this, which I used to get before. Now it's like, so what's really going on? As if I know. I mean, I know a little bit more than maybe your average person, but which we try to incorporate into the documentary. But I think ultimately, it feels like we're being kind of primed without trying conspiratory, but here, trying to sound conspiratory. It feels like something is leading to something where the acceptance, when the Navy comes out and says, yes, this is not from our planet, our known, it's not us, not our foes. That is a paradigm shift. That's kind of staggering. And then when you've got the U.S., Senate and the House, Congress coming out and talking about this, and like Dave says, it's both sides. We're agreeing on this. And so I'm curious, like you, I've got my popcorn ready and I've buckled up for the next, chapter and what's coming.
Mm-hmm. Now here's the hard part. Tomorrow, we're all sitting around and suddenly the first spaceship, or whatever we want to call it, lands in the middle of D.C. It says, hey, guys, let's talk about what's going on. Our universe, our world, our everything shifts in a second.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of part of what's happening is the avoidance of that shift in a second. I mean, there's a thing a lot of people in the military, a guy named Carl Nell has done a lot of talking, is a retired intelligence officer, about something they call catastrophic disclosure. And that is that notion that either another nation just spills everything all out at once and people have to absorb it in one day, or that the non-human intelligence themselves put everything out all in one day. And, and one of the things that is being discussed is how do we do a controlled disclosure of what the government already knows, and and that people can absorb gradually. And it seems like we're in the middle of that process right now. That we're getting bits and bits and bits, and people are taking it more and more seriously and are more acclimatized to it. I mean, I've seen a shift in the last 5 years of less and less X-Files theme being played on news segments, less and less giggling. I know even when I'm talking to people I meet, less and less glazing over of the eyes. Used to be I'd meet people and they'd say, so yeah, I get that. So you're into UFOs. I said, yeah, well, they're real. And then people go, uh-huh. And you could see them stop listening. You could actually, it's almost like you could see their ears disappear. So in the last 5 years, we are getting acclimatized. We are getting ready for it, and and it's because these things have been going on for a long time. I mean, the Capitol building was swarmed by UFOs in 1952, and it was a huge news story back then. And most people aren't aware of that now. But it was the cover of all the newspapers. It was on on Life magazine. So this, we're getting ready, I think, as a culture to confront whatever this is.
Now, Dave,
and as an example of that, Dave Foley has got a great podcast that he does called Really, and he and Tom Wheeler, it's interesting because they're able to pull all of these great people who normally wouldn't, come out of the closet to talk about this, researchers and scientists and stuff. And so it's a topic that wants to be discussed, and its time is here. And all the polls show that we're ready for that. The majority of people polled believe that that we are being visited. And they also believe that the government, a huge chunk of that also believes that the government is covering things up. So I think we can handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. That's gone. We can do it.
And I think, and every intelligent person I know who actually takes the time to look at the data, to look at the history, winds up kind of dedicating a lot of their life to thinking about the subject, and winds up taking it very seriously. And the only way to not take this seriously is to not look at the data. And I think more and more people are making the decision to pay attention, which I think is great.
Now, Dave, I'm an attorney. I'm a comic writer. I do stand-up. Every once in a while, I do something, and I'm certain that my agency or my talent, an agent's going to say to me, hey, Jeff, you got to lay off the UFO stuff. I mean, I can't imagine the crap you've taken from your talent agency who just goes, Dave, the alien stuff, we're trying to get you for this part, but they're a little bothered over the alien stuff.
Oh, a few years ago, I remember saying to them, "Oh, I'd like to do a podcast about UFOs," and that's good, but maybe we should focus on a subject that that is more marketable, more maybe something, maybe just a watching podcast about comedy, and that has transitioned to, in the last couple of years, my representatives using the phrase, there's a lot of interest in the UFO space right now.
The UFO space. I love that.
Yeah. So now, because now there's the industry is now tuning into it, the entertainment industry, and it's definitely it's not the same. As I said, my own representatives, who know I'm not crazy, would just sort of and then move on to another subject. But now they're going, well, there's something to this, and by that they mean there's money in this.
Yeah. Money will follow. Now, the greatest thing I love about this is, about 20 years ago, anybody who talked about UFOs would say it'd be some guy in a trailer. Now you're talking to scientists. You're talking to politicians. I mean, the change of these interviews must just be mind-boggling.
Yeah. I mean, Dean.
Yeah. It is the kind of caliber of people, not anything against people that live in a trailer or a trailer park, but the caliber of people who are willing to talk about this and who have thought about this, more importantly, and pondered it. Everyone's got their own perspective, right? And so that to me is fascinating because again, getting to do these interviews, it becomes this jousting thing because for me, I really want to believe in this stuff, and it seems to make sense, logical sense, statistically as well. But I'm not an easy date. So I'm not going to, excuse the crudeness, put out on the first date. I want to get to know and feel like, this truth is being honest about itself. And so it's really something that I feel it's kind of a big puzzle, and we're all trying to bring our pieces in, and we're all kind of collecting them. But whereas a puzzle, has its pieces where you can go, oh, that image looks like the corner of this picture that we're putting together. It's kind of like the White Album. Every piece is white, and you just kind of have to get it in place. And then when you're done, it'll present what it is. So part of the fun of this is the journey of discovering this, because really what we're trying to do, guys, is we're trying to look at this like it's a trailer to an upcoming movie. And so you don't want to give too much away, too many spoilers, but you want enough that you go, okay, there is something that's going to be amazing coming. And it feels like that is happening, starting to happen, even if it's a paradigm shift in the mentality of how we look at this, and we fold this into, oh, this is now part of nature, just like the Northern Lights.
Yeah.
What's interesting? Sorry.
What? Oh, no, I was just saying. You go on.
What I think people are. It's so difficult for people to get, because there's a difference between knowing that people might be watching us, and then you have the people who believe that they're actually taking some people, for experiments. I mean, that must just be a night and day issue.
Yeah, well, and the fact that the abduction phenomena encompasses potentially millions of people who've had these experiences is pretty phenomenal. And the consistency of the stories, and the and the fact that most of the people who have had these experiences, by all other measures, seem perfectly sane and rational. So that's something that has to be taken seriously. We did have the head of Harvard psychiatry, John Mack, for a long time was, out there alone, studying it and taking it seriously and saying, well, I have no reason to think these people are crazy, and that's my job, is to know if people are crazy. And and now you have, like, the head of Harvard astronomy, Avi Loeb is studying this. You've got Gary Nolan, one of the world's leading molecular biologists, is studying this subject. It's and people are taking it very seriously. Michio Kaku, it's one of the leading proponents of string theory, is on board, taking this seriously. You can't. you can't dismiss all of these people, you know?
Now, when we're talking about a lot of these people, like the high educators, they need grants, they need money. They can't just be sitting around going, okay, I'll get my car and somebody's paying for the gas for me to drive to Arizona. So is there money out there now paying for these grants for them to study?
Not through the traditional networks, right, Dean?
Yeah, no. No one wants to fund people going to Arizona for some reason. But no, it's you don't make a living pursuing UFOs. You just don't. If you have a show, TV series or something, then sure. But most of these people are doing this bootstrapped on their own. These are people who are, in a way, detectives, researchers that are doing this, that disseminate this, and those people are boots on the ground. Soldiers in this,
and they're jeopardizing their funding really by taking on this subject. A lot of them.
Yeah, but as an example where things have changed is again Michael Masters, Professor Michael Masters in Montana Tech. He told his board, his bosses at Montana Tech, said, "Hey, look, I'm going to be publishing a book on this, and I'll probably be doing some tours. How do you feel about this? And I might even want to do a class." And they said, "Right on." That wouldn't have happened even 6 years ago.
No,
10 years ago.
I'm saying you go back to John Mack. Harvard did their best to destroy his career because he was taking the UFO abductions phenomenon seriously.
Yeah, he went on Oprah and all these shows, and when he was done with that tour of his book, Harvard literally tried to take his license away, not just remove him from Harvard faculty. It was a old-fashioned witch hunt that was done in the 90s.
He had to hire lawyers and fight it, and
then all these other professors came to his aid because they're kind of like, well, we can study in colleges, angels and religions and stuff, and there's not any more evidence in that than there is in the UFO space. How do you justify that? And so,
yeah. How do you have a theology department at Harvard, but you can't study UFOs?
Yeah. Go figure.
It seems, there's a lot of risk to this. People who've been highly educated, who've spent a long time doing this. Now, I mentioned earlier if your agents have ever said anything to you, but what do you think the toughest conversation you've had with a professional about maybe losing a relationship or possibly losing a gig over your feelings about UFOs?
Well, it's never been that upfront, It's, as I said, it's always just more the eyes glaze over and they just stop listening and they move on to another subject. And again, that is happening less and less often. I think when I first started talking about it, I was aware that I could get branded as a UFO nut, but I kind of just didn't care. I thought. My attitude was too many people, the stigma around this subject has ruined too many lives. And I'm in a position where I have a little bit of a platform. I can maybe make those people's lives a little better by talking about it, making it, doing my little bit to reduce the stigma, which I think, Dean is also doing in his work. And I think it's, that's part of the incentive behind it, is to try and reduce the damage that this subject matter does to people's lives.
I'm also curious, Dave, when you did go public, did that bring a different level of connectivity to people that you would have to seek out beforehand? They're now coming to you, so you've got a greater pool of minds of people that talk about this?
Oh yeah, it's like people in the industry, people, and just people on social media reaching out to me to tell me their stories and tell me what their experiences are, was phenomenal and a gift. But it also, so many people within the entertainment industry started coming up to me and telling me their stories. Most of them still won't talk about them publicly, but a lot more are, talking about it. And I had a friend of mine on the podcast who I'd known for over 30 years and didn't know that she was a part of the Hudson Valley UFO incident back in the 80s. And it wasn't only when I started doing the podcast that she said, well, I saw something. And she was part of the famous Hudson Valley flat when she was a teenager, and was traumatized by it.
Now, you've taken a lot of risks in your career. I mean, you left school to become stand-up. You've gone from Second City TV. You've done all these things. I can't imagine you going, I love this topic so much that it's worth the risk that I'm right about to take.
Yeah, well, I think it's more just that attitude of I've always been willing to upset people. I mean, back when we were doing Kids in the Hall, our attitude was just always we're going to just do whatever we think is interesting and funny, and we never really paid attention to if it was upsetting anybody. And so it's the same thing. I always approach things of if I think something's interesting or true, then that's what I'm going to talk about.
But it's also interesting because good comedy is controversial, right?
The stuff I like, yeah.
So it makes sense that, the next level is this topic, which is equally controversial.
Yeah. And it's always in my nature that if someone tells me there's something that you shouldn't talk about, that's the thing I'm going to talk about.
I wonder, could you mention something about, the information being able to get out there? Now that we have the internet, the minute something happens big, I mean, clearly big, it's going to be everywhere. Now, I know there are certain countries that are going to implode the minute we discover there are aliens.
Possibly. I don't know. It's one of those things where, you go back to, the Catholic Church's attitude towards Galileo seeing moons around other planets, and that was the end of the world. If that gets out, humanity will fall apart. And maybe they were right. Maybe the Catholics were right. Maybe if it had happened then, maybe the world would have fallen apart. But the fact is, we've managed to survive knowing that we aren't the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And human beings seem very adaptable to new situations.
Furthermore, the Vatican actually has an extraterrestrial program.
Yeah.
Seriously, they've been studying the stars. They've got like two or three very high-powered telescopes that they've had for decades. So they want to be out in the front should this, go down the pike. And so this isn't just, for, these, closeted astronomers and stuff at Harvard. This is something that's been considered and has for a very long time. And, They have
a huge archive of historical accounts of UFOs at the Vatican.
An incredible record database that they have that, like, here's another scientist, Dr. Dinah Pasulka, religious studies. She was the first woman to go to the what has been called the secret Vatican. It's not very secret libraries, and to go there and to see firsthand accounts of what was perceived as miracles that actually look very similar to encounters with beings from another planet. So it's been with us a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you. I could talk about this all day, but I know you guys have a life. Why don't you tell me when the show's coming out?
Sure. It is coming out January 8th, and it'll be on Amazon and Apple TV. And it'll be in several different countries as well. So it's a wide release.
Well, I appreciate you guys making the time. Look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Well, that wraps up today's show. I'm attorney Jeff Kaufman. Thanks for joining us. Special thanks to my two co-hosts, my good friend, professional comedian James John, and my law partner, Craig Lind. This show is sponsored by Kaufman Lind. If you or someone you know has been in an accident, contact us at 407-500-JEFF or 407-500-5333 for a free consultation, or visit us at whenyouneedus.com.